Well, hey guys, today I'm going to do the fuel filter on the KTM 1190 Adventure R, which is the same as the Adventure, which I think is the same as the 990. There's a couple of very important steps to take at the start. The first and most important is to make sure that you're wearing your safety Crocs. Second one is to remove the tank. If you're not sure how to do that, you can have a look at my air filter installation video linked below. So the tank's off, and here we have the fuel pump right here inside the tank with the power going in and the fuel coming out, and the fuel coming out, and the fuel tap. Oh, this is just joins the two halves, right? So we have to just basically unscrew this. Make sure your tank's pretty empty because you don't want all your fuel pouring out of this hole. We have a T30 on the Torx, so we'll just open this up. Okay, so the screws are out, and then this just pops out. There's a rubber O-ring that actually holds it in there, so it might be a little bit tight. Pop that open. We don't want to damage the plastic though, or the seal, so don't go overboard. There we go. And there is our fuel pump. And you can see this is the O-ring down here which seals the tank. And then we have a filter, which that's supposed to be white, and another fuel filter which is up here. So let's open this up. Okay, one thing you might want to do is grab your wife or your girlfriend's best Tupperware, because some fuel does pour out of this when we're pulling it apart. You can see it's sort of got a few drips there. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, you'll see there's a couple of little clamps here. You're going to pop them open, and the top half will come off. And like I said, a little bit of fuel will come out. Oh yeah, just coupling this part. This pipe here will just pop out. It's just got a little rubber O-ring on each end. You want to take off the two electrical connectors. As far as that is labelled positive and negative on the top here, so you don't have to worry about trying to remember which one goes where. Black is always negative, red's positive. You can unscrew that. Where'd my screwdriver go? One's quite tight. Wires are out of the way, and then you want to take this this clamping assembly off. So there's one screw on either side. And then it all just falls apart like that. See that? It's all part of the plan. So there's there's two spaces there, brass. Well, they're not brass, whatever they are, goldy coloured spaces. They stay in there. And then you have this section of the filter. So this actually just pops off. It's just a pressure fit. Yeah, so it just pops off like that. There's the old one. I'll show you the new one. Oh, well, in your filter kit comes a new filter, a new O-ring, and the pre-filter, whatever that thing's called. So yeah, I don't know. I think actually when you dry this out, it does go a bit whiter, so it's probably not all gunk. So I guess I can put that back on. This is the actual motor, the pump. There you go, there's a little rubber, a little rubber seal there I nearly left on. pops on like that. Okay, and then in this top half is our other filter. So this one, that's right, it has a little plastic pin there and there, one on each side. There's a little slot on the bottom there. You can actually get a small screwdriver and pop that in, and that will drop the little pin out of that slot there. And then the other side, and then the other side pops back in. There you go, and it comes open. So yeah, that's the filter. I actually cleaned this once already because it was blocking up, so we can change that over. There's the new one. Now I'm not sure why you don't get all of the O-rings. You're only getting the main O-ring for the main body. I guess, you know, it doesn't really matter if this one isn't perfect. What's it going to do? Leak fuel? So yeah, then this one just snaps back together. There's only one way it can go. Click. Make sure it's assembled correctly, and now we're putting it all back, doing the opposite to what we did to take it apart. Okay, so once you've got this this plastic cap back on, you can drop these spacers back in. Then we've got the pump itself goes back in here. There's a little rubber piece that goes down there. Well, might be easier to just take that back off. Okay, so usually these things make sense when I'm not sure what's going on. You have to have a think about it. So you can see that there's little fins on this rubber, and there's fin holes in here. So obviously those fins look into those holes, and that looks like that's where it goes. Then our pump sits onto that, and that fits quite snug. Then our plastic sleeve can go on, which again can only go one way. The wire's getting a little in the way there. Okay, so that sits in its little lugs, poke into the right spots. Then we can drop our brass spacers in. We can get our these little frame things. Now these can only go one way, because if you sit it on and the two bolt holes don't line up, you know you've got it backwards. And then this one goes on, again it can only go on one way. We can drop our bolts in. Do those up. Yeah, so maybe someone can tell me why. I mean, there's bare electrical wires here submersed inside the petrol tank. Negative, the black one. So why, how does it not short out? I mean, we've just got this little gap between them. What? Oh, actually there's not a gap, there is a plastic. Yeah, there is a plastic sleeve between them, so they can't sort of accidentally touch each other. There's that screw, this little screw in. Just make sure it's got a washer on there, because it had a washer on there. So if it hasn't, you just lost it. Yeah, obviously fuel is not very conductive. I mean, it's submersed and it doesn't short out. Anyway, I'm not a chemist, so I wouldn't know. Make sure this tube goes back in there. It's symmetrical, so it doesn't really matter which way it goes, as long as it clicks in. properly. Then the top of our fuel pump goes back on. You can see there's two holes, one for this tube and one for the motor. And then, as you can see, this little case goes over the electrical connectors, and open that up. And then our little clips will click into place once this gets down into the right position. Click and click. And make sure that they have actually locked. So it's all snug and tight, and there you go. A fuel filter with the fuel pump with replaced filters. So that's pretty simple. You know, I'd say pretty much anyone could do it with a little bit of patience. Maybe grab the manual and it tells you what order to undo these things, so you can't really get it mixed up. Yeah, but if you get stuck in the middle of somewhere, well, and you think it's a fueling issue, you can always, open this up and pull the filters out if they're blocked. So yeah, everyone should know roughly what's involved. There you go. Yeah, so now we're up to putting it back into the tank. I guess just make sure that surface is clean. You don't drop too much crap into the tank. I don't know if it's critical as to which way this goes, whether it's that way or that way. I'm pretty sure it did come out with the cline facing to the center, so if I'm wrong, don't hold it against me. Now this will, when you push this back in, make sure this rubber seal is going into back into the tank opening evenly. Okay, I think that's why they give you that particular O-ring, because so there's a frog in here. It's the breather. Because it obviously you can quite easily destroy it when you're putting that back in. Okay, we'll put our screws back in. I won't do them. Don't do the first one up tight straight away, because you're going to want to pull this thing in. The screws will pull it tight to the tank, and you want to do that fairly evenly, not just one corner at a time. Now, as always, I take no responsibility if you break something. But I'm just, as with most YouTube tutorials, I think we're showing that you can do it. It's not that difficult if you want to give it a go. You're probably more than capable of succeeding. There's always a possibility that I screw something up, but I just live with that. I don't mind. We all make mistakes, and I guess potentially it could cost money. That's my little rubber seal, and there's obviously got a bit of petrol on it, and it's all just shriveled. Anyway, I'll redo that later. Yeah, I changed this power plug because that 3-pronged connector, it's so difficult to get apart and together. It's a nightmare. So I just changed it for a waterproof 3-pronged plug that's much easier to get together and apart. So anyway, there it is, all back together. I guess I can tip the tank forward, and if it doesn't leak, we're looking good. That breather is quite noisy. Interesting. Okay, well, I'll put it back on the bike and we'll see if she starts. Yeah, give this a rinse before your next batch of cakes smell or taste like premium. Well, there you go. There's the fuel pump all back together. Tank's back on the bike, and job completed. Ooh, focus. So yeah, we can start it up, make sure it all works. you'll hear that noise. Hear that squealing noise? That noise, yeah, I always thought it was the fuel pump, but it's not. It's actually the servo for the throttle. When you turn the throttle, you can hear it. And you can actually touch the throttle body, which is on the right hand side of the bike, just up in here. I wonder if I can focus in there. Yeah, so you can see that there. This is something that people have had problems with. If that gets too dirty and it jams up when you start the bike, it turns it a bit, and if it doesn't move, the bike won't start. So that is something to be wary of. I've read on the forums. I've never had that as an issue. Turn the ignition off. So yeah, so job complete. That is the KTM 1190 Adventure R / Adventure / 990 / whatever other KTMs use a fuel pump in the tank. I'd say it's, you know, it's an intermediate job. If you're feeling up to the challenge, it's not that difficult. You can do it. But yeah, you know, maybe not the absolute basic, but certainly, you know, just one step up. It's not impossible. Take the steps slowly, and you can't go too wrong. Worst you're up for is some additional O-rings and maybe a bit of fuel dumped on the floor. Other than that, all good. Okay, hopefully this helped a few of you guys. Cheers.